here's Brody Brazil.
So as I record this, we're less than 24 hours removed from the big news coming out that the A's have secured land and partnerships in place to try and build a new stadium on this site in Las Vegas. Yep, it's about a mile plus north of Allegiant Stadium. It's just west of the Strip and I-15 and T-Mobile Arena. This is the former site of a Wild West banquet hall and saloon or something like that. And now it's 49 acres that the A's would like to call their brand new home. But after the past, almost 24 hours, I've been sitting and sifting through a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of feedback, a lot of reaction, a lot of commentary out there, a lot of comments being made out there. But it's all left me with a lot of questions. Some of these things I guess I might know an answer to. Others are just thoughts for me to have, like this one. Why did this story break as it did last night, like randomly and a little bit out of nowhere on a Wednesday night at 8:50 p.m. and in the Nevada Independent, followed by something that looked quite prepared by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. A lot of quotes, a lot of preparation. They didn't just slap something together and call it breaking news. I mean, this story was well formulated before it was specifically published. It caught everybody off guard. And look, you knew the A's were doing work in Las Vegas. You knew all the trips down there, all the time that they had spent was going to produce something. Come on. They weren't just going down there for fun. These were legitimate business trips, and obviously it has returned something tangible. But to have it all come out, not even in little bits and pieces, more so to say, Oakland, we're done. This is what we've got. It's basically almost secured. We're not even going back and forth with this. We're almost turning our backs on this and walking away to Las Vegas. But the timing of it, at the end of a homestand, before an off day, the baseball team won't have another game until tomorrow night in Texas. Nobody will be at the Coliseum for a week plus. There's also everybody distracted by a Warriors basketball game tonight against the Kings. So the sports world has enough on its plate. Not to say like this shouldn't be covered or this wouldn't be covered. Of course it will. A pro sports team relocating, this is huge national news. But the timing of it, the way it came out, where it came out, who had it first, how it was all, put together by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the Independent first, and then the Review-Journal, it just seemed different. So I'll pose that question, maybe not with an answer, but still as a question. Here's another question. Ultimately, will Major League Baseball owners approve relocation like they have to if this is going to follow through? If the A's are going to move to Las Vegas, they will need 75% across the board of big league owners to say yes. That leaves a handful of teams, more than a handful of teams, that would have to say no for this not to happen. And to be quite honest, if you're looking right now for the only way that this doesn't happen, there's other ways. But this would be the main way. Because this is how it's happened before for other pro sports teams. A sale had been enacted or had taken place on paper, but it always has to be approved by the league, by the owners. And sometimes they say, no, this is not going to happen. Now, I don't know if that's even a possibility. I'm not even suggesting that it is or isn't a possibility. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I have no clue what the other 29 teams will do in a vote like this. I'm just saying it's a question. Will all the owners across the board, or will enough of them say yes to approve relocation with a 75% yes vote? And again, I am saying this, of all the things that could derail the A's moving to Las Vegas, that this is probably the biggest and only one that will keep them in the city of Oakland at this point, I think. How about Rob Manfred's promise of no relocation fees for the Oakland A's? Now, he said that several months back. And at that point, I don't know that Las Vegas was as tangible as it is now. I really don't know that the A's had this site picked out. Remember, there were 3 sites everybody discussed: the Rio, the Tropicana, and the festival grounds. Turns out none of them are what's being discussed here in this final stage. So I don't know that they really had their sights narrowed in. Now they obviously do. They've shown us where the land is. They've told us how they're going to pay for it. They've really spelled out all the business deals and politically what they expect from Clark County and from the state of Nevada. But is Rob Manfred going to still say, hey, you know that $2 billion that we would charge most teams to move? We won't charge you. Now, how would all the other teams see that? It's about a $70 million bonus to all the other teams that they would not be getting if there's no relocation fee. And it would cost the A's at some point $2 billion to move, in addition to $1.5 billion for the stadium. I also want to be fair. It is my understanding that the $2 billion could be spread out across multiple decades. So don't think of it all in one $2 billion payment. But it would cut into the A's revenue. It would incur additional cost to them every single year if they're paying, $70 million for almost 30 years. There you go. That's a significant cost, an operating cost to a team. So will Rob Manfred keep his promise that he made to the A's, or will things change? Because that could also alter this. Now, Clark County and the state of Nevada, it was discussed, pretty much in detail in both articles that I read last night that broke this news. It pretty much seems laid out that what the A's are asking for is a $500 million tax credit for this project. Essentially, we'll pay for everything now, but we will give you a gift card for $500 million that you can use on future taxes that you will not be taxed on. We'll give you a tax credit. So this one, again, could be an obstacle, could be a roadblock if enough politicians in Nevada or Clark County say no to this. But quite honestly, this does not seem like the one that is going to be a roadblock for the A's in moving here. Again, this is something that's possible. I'm here to say probably not likely to stop them. It does seem like they've got the governor, they've got a lot of politicians on their side. Let's switch back to Oakland. With Howard Terminal and the project, and there were two holdups that we all knew about: affordable housing and what percentage that needed to be. The A's had already met the legal threshold. They exceeded that. They even agreed to exceed that. But to what degree was Oakland looking for that the A's would provide? But the other part was infrastructure cost. Not the site itself, but all the infrastructure improvements necessary surrounding a Howard Terminal ballpark. At one point, I think the number was about $350 million. Well, Oakland has actually secured $374 million, they say. And the cost, because of inflation, because of time, has now rose about $150 million more. So my point is, if the gap in infrastructure expense, or cost, I should say, and the money that's secured, if it's only $150 million, and they had secured $370, let's say, already, is the reason we're not doing this because of $150 million? Which I get it. I'll never have $150 million. I doubt you do either. I'm not suggesting that anybody should just say, here's a free $150 mil, have fun with it, I'll walk away. I'm just saying that to come up with $370 and to only need $150 more, and to not have really exhausted all of your resources with the port or with the county of Alameda, who said that they would be in to help out with this, or any type of private partnership with an investor, or any other thing. There was nothing else that was even publicly explored. Did it really come down to $150 million of the sticking point and the ultimate sticking point at Howard Terminal? What would ever get the A's in Oakland talking again? I don't know. Shang Tao in her press conference today seemed very heated, understandably so. It sounds like she found out about a lot of this in the same way we did last night. She got a phone call or two. We all found out about it an hour or two later via the news media. I don't know if it would be a failure in Las Vegas that would get the A's in Oakland talking again. Would it be Major League Baseball's instruction to get Oakland and the A's talking again? Would it be a no vote on relocation? Of course, that might spur up some conversation. But what is it at this point that would get these two sides even connected again? Like, that's important. If you want to mend a relationship, if you want this to continue, you've got to get the two sides back on some level of communication, because the A's said, we're done. Oakland said, we're moving on. We're going to go develop this as something else. They literally turned their backs on each other. So this is more of a question with no answer, more of a topic here than something I've got the answer to. I really don't know. Could Howard Terminal still get developed? Yeah. I mean, the A's did so much legwork. And again, I made a video on this, I think, about a week or two ago, 10 days ago, reminding everybody that the A's have spent about $100 million already. Now, remember that 150 I just told you about? That's the scale that's being spent on this project. And so we're not very far, relatively speaking, on the infrastructure. But the A's had spent $100 million to get this project to where it is, to where it has kind of stalled out. Somebody else can say, wait, here's a site that's tremendous, that's got great potential, that's got an EIR that's been approved. The BCDC has removed port priority use. We know the port of Oakland wants to make this happen. Oh my gosh, who would not want to jump in on a project like this? Now, this is dangerous that I'm advertising this, because you develop it any other way and a ballpark can never happen there. Then you just took the only thing you had of potential, like the actual land, a blank canvas of 55 acres, and you'll put something else there. So, might be good for Oakland. Unfortunately, the ballpark and the A's found it first, did all the legwork, spent all the money to figure out that this site can be used for something else than a parking lot. And then somebody else could swoop in, put something else there. So the answer to that is yes. Would Oakland be considered for a Major League Baseball expansion team? I'm not going to speak for anyone or everyone here. I would hope the answer would be yes. I think the answer could be yes. But there would have to be some arrangements in place to the tune of, like, what's the next ownership group that would be here? How can they have a deal signed and delivered and confirmed before we ever announce expansion? Like, baseball just does not want to go into this again taking any chances. They would need it all in a binding vote and agreement that they could have, like Howard Terminal developed for somebody else, in a ballpark for somebody else, before they would expand. Now, like, the good news is people are talking about this because Major League Baseball, in my opinion, is most definitely expanding here in the 2020s. After Tampa and Oakland get resolved, I believe they're going to Nashville. And if Oakland's going to Las Vegas, I said that Major League Baseball would go to Nashville and Las Vegas. So now Las Vegas is crossed off, Nashville and Oakland. And look, it's not unprecedented, right? You've had this in Cleveland in the NFL with the Browns. The actual team moves away and they start again with the new team in the same town. Look, I also want to clarify this, though. I'm talking here like all of this is, it's just paperwork. No. This might be really, really difficult to pull off. This might take a lot of convincing. And if you miss on this, you don't get more chances, like, until decades down the road. Don't put all your eggs in that basket. Will the A's keep their name if and when they move to Las Vegas? According to team president Dave Kaval on a radio interview with MLB Network, he quoted their long-standing history as something of value to the franchise and saying, absolutely, the A's will take their name to Las Vegas. I believe the quote was, Las Vegas A's has a nice ring to it. So the answer to that one is simple. Is this the last season for the A's playing in Oakland? You notice how I didn't actually even read that word for word? Is this the A's last season playing in Oakland? There you go. It's possible. In fact, at this point, I think it's highly likely. They have a 10,000 seat Las Vegas ballpark that the Aviators currently play in. And that stadium could probably be quickly upgraded over this winter to seat 18,000. And if you're the A's and you make this announcement now and you need to break ground in 2024 to have your new Las Vegas ballpark open by 2027, I don't think you want to spend one more day, week, month at the Coliseum just knowing the response that you'll get here. And so that makes me seriously look at the future and the timeline and the way this could play out. Sure, the Aviators would need to find a new home, but they'll figure that out. If it's Major League Baseball's involvement, they'll figure that out. Does Cashman Field still exist down there in Las Vegas? Could they play there? Not optimal, but none of this is, and they'll do whatever's necessary to get the team there. So the answer to this, yeah, it's not for sure, but if you're asking me here today on the 20th of April, yeah, I would say it's more than possible this is the last season in Oakland. I'm not going to go likely yet. There is a lease with the Coliseum through 2024. I do believe that the A's would owe in the eight-figure mark, easy eight-figure mark, as a penalty to get out of that lease early. In the tens of millions, no doubt. So the answer to that one is it very well could be their last season. We might be witnessing the final season as it's being played out right now. So what will the rest of this season be like? Somebody asked me today in an interview, will there be less fans out there? I don't even know. And I'll be honest, I have a hard time today, and again, this is today, since the news came out last night, I have a hard time focusing on anything baseball related. Runners in scoring position, ERA, WHIP, all that, stats, players. I mean, Mason Miller was tremendous in his big league debut the other day. I mean, what does that matter to me right here, right now? It's hard to say that it, at this juncture, it's hard to focus on the rest of this season. Isn't Las Vegas small market just like Oakland? Smaller. If we're talking market size. Now, financial opportunities, yeah, Las Vegas is right up there with the heavy hitters because of the casino industry, the entertainment industry. But in terms of actual, like, residents, media saturation, cable subscriptions, people watching, they said that the A's would rely on 70% of locals to be their primary audience coming to games, their attendance. That's a 30% tick of visitors. That's a lot. That's asking for a lot, but 70% residents. Don't a lot of Las Vegas-ites, is that Las Vegans? Vegans? No, they're not vegan. They're not all vegans. Don't a lot of them work at night? A significant amount, like when night games are being played? Anyway, to answer the question, yes, Las Vegas is small market, just like Oakland. What does that mean? What does that mean moving forward? I have no clue, but people have asked, like, wait, are they trying to shed the small market thing by going to Las Vegas? Well, if they are, that's not what's happening here. Be very clear about that. Will A's fans switch over to the Giants? Probably. Well, first off, there's a large cross-section of casual baseball fans here in the Bay Area that they just want a good time. They want to be entertained, and they've always kind of been back and forth. They might wear the split cap or they have two hats or whatever. They're not concerned. They just want to take their kids and their family to a game, no doubt. So I'm not really talking about them. I'm talking to people who bought season tickets to the Coliseum. I'm talking about people who have A's jerseys and paraphernalia, and they chose their allegiance. They chose their side long ago. They might, and I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you that's a bad thing at all. If all of this is really happening, if all of this is really happening, and you love baseball, and you're here in the Bay Area, and you were with your team until the end, and you didn't ask them to go away, and they decided to go away, what are you supposed to do? I mean, I'm not going to fault you for changing sides. Now, if this world were perfect and the A's just build Howard Terminal and it's Howard Terminal on one side of the bay and Oracle Park on the other, and people want to choose their sides and have their reasoning or switch teams, then maybe we got a little bit of a, like, what are you doing here? then maybe there's contention in the conversation. But if one team literally bounced on you, what are you going to do? What are you supposed to do? So I will not pass judgment on anybody that says, well, I'm going across the bay at this point because of this. What about all the A's and Coliseum employees who depend on their jobs and security? And this is kind of where I want to close off the video. We've been talking a lot about the fan side of it and the history of the A's and the legacy they have in Oakland and how upset a lot of people are by this news and by this development. This is not the final straw. It's a late one. It is a last straw, but it's not the final straw. But fandom is one thing. How about people who are security guards and ushers and work concessions or are grounds crew or work for the A's front office or work, in any capacity? There's a lot of people. If you walk around the Coliseum, there's a lot of people employed there. They rely on jobs and paychecks and at least 81 home dates per season. I just want to mention them. By the way, this is not a question that I have an exact answer to. I'm just saying maybe let's consider them in our thoughts that a lot of these people are losing a good job and a good opportunity. And honestly, from what you hear, working at the Coliseum in various different respects has always been a good, solid, well-paying job. Like it's a good job to have. So I just want to remember them as much as anything else in this process. What are the odds right now? 5-95. And at one point, I was like 70-30 Oakland, maybe even 80-20. And then over time, it became 50-50. I think at some point, it became 60-40 Las Vegas. Even as of yesterday at this time, like 20 plus hours ago. What time is it? Doesn't matter. Basically, this time yesterday, when none of us knew anything publicly, I would have said the odds were 60-40 Las Vegas. Now I think it's 95-5 Las Vegas. So the A's need to figure out how to even enable that 5%. How do you even get it back to that as a possibility? For Oakland, it's not good odds. It's just not. So there's the site. Those are my questions. I'm sure I'll have more questions. They'll change over time. Some of these questions might be answered in the near future. And look, I'm sorry that these videos aren't as polished as they typically are, and they come with a lot of emotion. And I'm trying to be careful in my words in a sense that I want to be responsible about what I say. That hopefully it's accurate. It's got a good point to it. I know there's a lot of emotions involved in what people are saying right now, and trust me, I have those emotions too. But I'm trying to suppress them and filter them and get the best information out there and the best perspectives out there. So thanks for being here on the channel. Thumbs up on the video. I'd appreciate that. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.